So you're at the beginning, you want to get into property, and there's so many strategies. Where do you begin? There really are so many strategies, and if you're watching this on YouTube, no doubt you've seen other YouTubers, and there's some amazing ones out there. You've seen the education companies out there, and the big ones tell you need to do this strategy, this strategy, this strategy, this strategy. What have we got? Service accommodation, rent to rent, no money down deals, which there's no such thing as no money down, but we'll get to that later. Buy to let, buy, refurbish, refinance, HMO, commercial conversion, new build, title splits, assisted sales, and everything in between. There's over 100 different property strategies. Say what? With that in mind, where do we begin? Well, first of all, I think what's really important is if you're going to go to, say, an education sales weekend where they do these 3-day events and webinars, which I love, by the way. I do one myself, not a 3-day event, but a webinar, and it's a great opportunity. But before you go on them, do a little research on what you're actually looking at in terms of your resources. So the first thing I'm going to look at is what resources do I have? And this is time, money, experience. So start with experience. If you look at your experience level and you go, do you know what? I am at the right at the beginning of my property investment journey. Now, caveat to that, if you're about to go into property investment, but you've been a builder for 20 years, add that in, okay? You don't need to be a property investor to know how to do a new build, for example. So then what you're going to do is collate that, and then you're going to eliminate, for example, industrial, commercial conversions, land developments, and anything else majorly complex. Just get out. Yes, they're cool. Yes, they're sexy. Yes, the idea of doing a development, making 100K, it's like, yeah, but calm your tits, all right? Chill out a little bit and then eliminate that. We can get round to that. Property is a long term. So that's experience. Next thing is time. Time is super important, okay? You need, in any strategy, a minimum of 10 hours a week. Super important, consistently, every week for a year minimum to start really generating results. And what I mean by generating real results is 5 to 10K a month profit, okay? Minimum 10 hours, minimum a year. And the reason I'm pushing that is I see a lot of people going, you can do this with 2 hours a week. And I'm not here to slag anyone off, but it's just not true. It's not reality. Nothing in properties get rich quick. It takes time, determination, and dedication. Sorry to be the one to tell you. So this is important where, let's say you're thinking about a rent to rent. The most typical rent to rent strategy, and I'll get around to different strategies in a moment, is where you rent out a house, let's say a 4-bed with a dining room downstairs. And what you do is you'll turn that into a 5-bed, rent out the 4 rooms and rent out the dining room by putting some bits around, okay? And then you profit from the difference between the amount of money you get in from the rooms and the money you have to pay out to the landlord for the house. That's a rent to rent. Now, the problem is, what a lot of people don't tell you is you have to factor in that you are doing the management on 99% of the deals for the numbers to even work. Almost all rent to rents that have ever come across my desk do not work when you apply a management agent, which, by the way, is pretty logical, because if all you were thinking of doing is giving it to a management agent, you're doing the same bloody thing the landlord was doing and then has chose not to do anymore because it wasn't working. Think, right? So rent to rent often doesn't work as a strategy unless you are managing. Now, a rent to rent in general doesn't actually take that much time up. However, it's when the time is taken up. So for example, if you've got a full-time job and a tenant calls you at 9:30 in the morning with a problem like, smells like gas, or there's a leak here, or somebody broke in. All of these things happen in property, by the way. It's not that it takes long to deal with, it's how are you going to deal with it? Now, when you build up a portfolio of 5, maybe 6 rent to rents, you can employ somebody part-time where they are the person that's on call, if you like, and you pay them for 20 hours a week on average. However, you need to think of how quickly you're going to get from point A to point B. My opinion of a rent to rent property isn't how much time, it's when the time is taken. Just as an example. Number 3 resource, and probably the most obvious, how much money have you got? How much moolah you got? All of this no money down bullshit is just that, bullshit, okay? Absolute rubbish. There's always someone's money down. It might not be your money down. It might be low money down. Let's take a rent to rent as an example. often purported as a no money down strategy. By the way, I like rent to rent. I'm not knocking it. I do like it for the right person. But you have to pay a deposit. That's money down. You usually have to pay the first month's rent. That is money down. You're not going to have it fully tenanted immediately. You're going to have it empty, vacant, as they say in property. You're going to have to pay some bills until that happens. That is money down. What about the cost of the contract? That is money down. What about the furnishings? That is money down. What if it needs repainting? That is money down. You're looking at about 10 grand down for the average rent property, which is incredibly low, but still financial. So you have to be smart about that. What about your education? What about setting up a company? It's like you're going to start a portfolio without getting properly educated and having the right compliance. You're a fucking idiot. Right? It just doesn't work like that. So I'm sorry to sort of knock it out of the park, because you have to get resourceful. Can you get a loan? Can you get credit cards? Can you do what's needed to make this happen? But please do not be deluded that it's a no money down strategy. It's just not. Okay? So think about the money. Likewise, on the other side, have you got money for a development? Have you got hundreds of thousands? All of this comes into play. And then what you can do is write this up. And by the way, when it comes to finance, don't just think about your bank account. Your network is your net worth. Who's in your circle that has access to finance that would allow you access to that to accelerate your journey? Most people, including myself, that have made the millions in property did not do it with my own money. I had to outsource that. I had to bring in money. I started in credit card and loan debt at 33 grand, and that accelerated my educational path, etc., and got me to where I'm at today. Every billionaire you know, pretty much every multi-billionaire, is billions in debt, including the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. He has got one of the highest amounts of debt as an individual in the world. Shock horror. Okay, you need to utilize other people's money. So your experience, your time, and your financial resource. With that in mind, I'm going to tailor this to the beginners, and I'm going to go for 3 relative beginner strategies, which is boring vanilla buy-to-let properties. If you've been watching this channel, you know I love them. Rent-to-rents, and of course, deal packaging. I love all 3 of these strategies. So buy-to-let, boring, vanilla, buy-to-let property. If I'm new, I don't have a lot of experience, and more importantly, I don't have time, then I'm going to go down the buy-to-let route. The reason I love buy-to-lets is it is what it is. There will never, ever, 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 ever be a point that you don't want a roof over your head. Am I right in saying that? Correct. Okay. Whereas you got service accommodation, also known as holiday lets, where Airbnb, Booking.com, you rent somebody's house, all of that. And that's great until the hotels put more pressure on the industry, compliance comes in, and then there's loads of red tape around it. Do I believe service accommodation in its current format will be around forever? No, I don't. I genuinely do not believe it. However, it's a great strategy. It's also very time intensive. A lot can go wrong, and it needs money to back it up. Whereas if we look at HMOs are incredible until little compliance changes come in, like the council saying there's going to apply council tax to each individual that lives there. Therefore, that either eradicates your profit as a HMO landlord, or you have to pass it on to the tenant, and then the tenant goes, well, it's at a point I might as well just rent a 1-bed flat on my own. So you need to think about that. The thing I love about boring vanilla buy-to-lets is they are boring, okay? I know that sounds weird, but I personally believe my active income, which I'll get to in a moment, should be active. And by the way, I've got enough money to retire many lives over, and I don't mean that in a cocky way. The reason why I'm saying it is linking back to I work hard. I really love work. I'm passionate. I'm really excited about what I'm trying to build, and I make a fuckload of money doing it. All right. That is my active income. And then my passive income, where I'm putting the money, is into something truly passive. I do not believe service accommodation, rent to rents, and everything like that is anywhere near passive. I think it's incredibly difficult to get passive. Not to say I'll never do it, but let's say I open a service accommodation business. I will do it by finding the best hotel manager that I possibly can, hire them, and get them to run my service accommodations. That's how I would build a service accommodation business. But my idea is my active income stays active and my passive stays passive. Just my opinion, and that's why I love boring vanilla buy-to-let properties. By the way, at this point, if you are one of those people where you too love buy-to-let properties, you've got the money to invest, we typically work with people with 100,000 or more to invest, but you don't have the time, you don't have the experience, and you want me personally to help build that portfolio for you, put APG in the comments. The way it works, we'll send you a link, you fill in your details, and we'll book in a one-to-one strategy session, get a clear understanding of where you're at, where you want to get to, and hopefully if we're a match, we will offer you something to help you along that journey and accelerate that. And if not, you've got some value from a strategy session, and we're doing that at the moment completely free. So put APG in the comments if you've got the money to invest. The next one is, of course, rent to rent, and then we're going to get to my favorite strategy in a moment. So rent to rents, they are pretty good. But I think people pigeonhole themselves. If I were going into rent to rent, and I've done it before, by the way, and the reason why is I got 14 rent to rents, I was making $7,000 a month, and I got rid of them all. I actually sold them on, okay? And it's because I just did not like getting phone calls from tenants at random points. You couldn't afford to get a manager. It wasn't a point. And to be fair, I could have built it through and then got management in place. But it's just a lot of moving parts for not a lot of reward, if I'm completely honest. And then the idea of a HMO is that it makes more money, but there's also a lot more problems. Obviously, when there's 5 adults, maybe their partners living in a house, there's going to be more wear and tear. There's going to be more damages. There's going to be more electric use. The heating and electric goes up staggeringly high. Okay. However, it is a really good concept. It is considered a beginner level strategy. Here's when I would consider it. If I were looking to get into HMOs and I really want to build a HMO portfolio and I want to test an area, I would first, even in my situation, I would first go into the area and get 2 or 3 rent to HMOs. This way I am reducing the amount of money that goes in, which is de-risking me. I'm able to get out of the contract if it's not working very well, and I get that sort of litmus test coming in. Once I've got some sort of confirmation of numbers, I would then feel comfortable putting together an investor pack, get it out there to investors, raise finance, pay them a set percentage, and then start building my HMO portfolio over here. So I do love rent to rents, but that's the only time I personally would use it. If you've got a bit more experience, rent to rent isn't anything to do with HMOs. It's really important saying that. Like, a lot of people think it is all about HMOs. And if you want, put rent to rent in the comments and I'll do another video around this. But you can rent to rent office space. Imagine I rented a empty piece of office. I put in desks, phones, and internet, and then I rented out the desks one by one. You can make $10,000 a month from one unit in profit. Okay. Moving to my favorite strategy, deal packaging. So deal packaging, I'm going to explain what it actually is, and most of the time you've just not heard it the correct way. In general, you are sitting in the middle of a transaction. There's property on one side and the investor on the other. Now, what 99% of people do, and if you do this, you're doing it wrong and you're making your life so hard, is you go out there, find a great property, package it up, and then you put it out there to the world, Facebook groups, all of that, and try to sell your property. Now, here's the problem doing it that way round, is what makes a great property isn't your opinion, it's criteria. And then how do you get criteria? By having the investor. So what you end up doing, which is much better, is getting the investor first, talking to them about the service that you can help them achieve. And then what you do is you help that individual buy a portfolio. They sign up, pay you up front for your services, so you're retained, so you're served like a personal shopper for the investor. You will then go out and search for a property that ticks those boxes. You can offer loads more confidence because you've got proof of funds, you know the criteria, you secure it, put it in front of your investor, well, we've got one, and then you get it through. That is the only way to do deal packaging. And by the way, another little plug here, if you are watching this and you are an investor that's got 100 grand or more to invest and you don't have the time experience, you want me to help build your portfolio, put APG in the comments. That's APG in the comments. I'll send you a link. You fill it out with your details. We'll give you a buzz and we'll book in a free one-to-one strategy session, and we'll break down exactly what we do, get you from where you're at to where you want to get to, and it's completely free. So put APG in the comments and we can go from there. So hey, these are just 3 separate strategies that I personally think are great. I genuinely believe every property strategy is great for the right person. But as I said, going back to the beginning of this video, what's your experience level? What resources do you have in time to allocate to this? And where is that availability of time? And finally, what is your financial resource in your own bank, loans, savings, crypto, ISAs, and remembering your net worth is your net worth. But hey, they're just my 3 top strategies for beginners especially. What I'm interested in is what strategy do you do and why do you love it so much? If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell. I'd love to see you back and watching some more videos and hopefully getting value. And if you did, it would help me out tremendously if you just tap that like button. It takes 2 seconds and adds a lot of value. Really excited for the next video. I'll see you there.